Check out what I have here. I have a whole bunch of rectangles, little tiny yellow rectangles, and they're in a layer. And I have an image, that Kansas image, behind them in another layer. Now, I'm doing 2 layers this time because you can now do this. Used to be years ago, you had to put all your stuff into 1 layer. It is now possible to separate the mask from what you're masking. And a lot of times that'll give you more control. So if you want to do that, you can. And in this case, we are. What I want to do, I want the image to clip out so the yellow rectangles basically are punching through to the image. Kind of like you're looking at it through a whole bunch of little tiny windows, I suppose. So we select everything. Remember, these are separate pieces. We select everything. And we go Object. And go down to Clipping Mask, Make, but it doesn't really work. What you're looking at is one of the windows. Remember, all items in Illustrator have a stacking order. That's the last yellow box that I made. So what it's doing is it's only using that one. But I want it to use all of them. So we're going to press Undo. One thing you might try, and let me lock out the image for a second. So I have all of these little tiny rectangles selected. I could go to the word Object and try doing something called a group. Now what a group does is it does put them all together. If we then select them all again by turning that off and doing a selection, we come up to the word Object and go to Clipping Mask, but it won't work. It won't work at all this time. So let's undo that and undo the group. So we're back to individual pieces. There we go. Individual pieces. What's left? Well, here's the trick. You have to understand something about how Illustrator is working this. It will only work with 2 objects. If you group something together, you're not really making it one object. You're just letting it perform as a unit. It still has a stacking order. There is a command that will allow you to make even items that are separate like this appear to the computer, to Illustrator, as one object, and that's Compound Path. Now I've got that locked again. Let's go ahead and select them all and go up to the word Object and go down to Compound Path. Now we're just doing that obviously to the yellow rectangles and say Make. Doesn't really look much different than a group, but the difference is Illustrator thinks of them as one object. Now we come back again and we select, let me turn off my lock here so we can get it. We select both of them. Notice that X, let me stop and mention that for a second. The X is on the photo, not on the yellow rectangles. When you bring a photograph into Adobe Illustrator, if you see an X, that means it's linked to it. And if you move that graphic somewhere else, Illustrator is going to say, where is it? I can't find it. If you want the image embedded into the particular document that you're working on, you can, and let me go ahead and turn this off for a second. You can select it and go up to the word Embed right here. Now that will move a copy directly into Adobe Illustrator, and it will increase the Adobe Illustrator's file size correspondingly. So if that's a 5 meg image, you're increasing the size of the Illustrator document by 5 megs. There are times when I want to embed, and there are times when I don't want to. But remember, if you don't embed, you have to have access to the original image somewhere on your hard drive. We'll leave that alone. Let's turn this back on and get to work. All right, select everything. Go up to the word Object. Go down to Clipping Mask, and this time it will work. Voila! Pretty cool, huh? So Clipping Mask and Compound Paths, yeah, the best of both worlds.